Town Hall, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Iranian-backed Houthi rebels have entered the war in the Middle East by claiming they've launched a missile toward Israel. The Israeli military said today it intercepted the projectile. The Houthis' entry could threaten yet another important global shipping lane in the region. Senator James Lankford has nothing but praise for Operation Epic Fury.
Performance of the American military has been stellar. I don't think anyone, Republican, Democrat, Independent, would challenge that at all. Based on open source and by classified information, they moved at tremendous speed and professionalism. All of these operations are incredibly complicated.
Senator Lankford spoke this week with the Salem Radio Network. Public policy expert Matthew Continetti says people in this country do understand that Iran's leaders, they believe them to be evil.
When you've looked at American public opinion prior to the launch of Operation Epic Fury, Americans have understood the Iranian regime for what it is. It's the world's largest sponsor of terrorism. It's killed Americans. It's held our people hostage. It's attacked our allies. It's oppressed its own people.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has positioned himself as the grassroots favorite in the runoff election to determine the party's Senate nominee. The election is May 26, and Paxton is trying to unseat incumbent John Cornyn in the process. Paxton drawing praise from right-wing activists. There's a new kind of crypto mortgage offering in the works.
Prospective homebuyers who have invested in certain cryptocurrencies will be able to use their holdings as collateral to fund their down payment on a home. Real estate services company Better Home and Finance plans to roll out the crypto-backed mortgage sometime in the next 3 months in a partnership with crypto trading platform Coinbase. Greg Clugston reporting.
More news at townhall.com.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline, 800-305-6762. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-305-6762 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. That's 800-305-6762 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-305-6762.
Republican Senator Eric Schmidt of Missouri says Democrats are concerned because the SAVE Act includes common sense provisions such as voter ID and ending men and women's sports.
These are all very popular issues. I think they're very worried that the more time we spend on it and they're held to account on votes, it's going to burn them. And they should be worried about it because they're completely out of step with the American people.
Senator Schmidt says, after all, there's really nothing controversial about requiring a person to verify their citizenship in order to vote.
No sane country would allow 15 million people to come here illegally. Some of those people now in some states can't get driver's licenses.
President Trump says he'll be hosting a UFC fight on the White House grounds to celebrate his 80th birthday and the nation's 250th anniversary. The president has long supported UFC. In fact, during his 2024 campaign, he used those ties to attract voters who weren't traditionally politically engaged. You'll find breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. The Supreme Court has dealt a blow to Democrat plans to prosecute ICE agents. Ken Lorman reports.
The U.S. Supreme Court rules 6-3 in that officers are generally shielded from civil liability unless prior case law makes the unlawfulness of their actions, quote, beyond debate. Some court watchers say that potentially undermines Democratic plans to prosecute ICE agents if they regain power.
That is Ken Lorman reporting. President Trump has signed a promised executive action to pay Transportation Security Administration employees after a bid to end the shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security abruptly fell apart in Congress on Friday. President Trump signed the action with an eye toward easing long security lines at many of the nation's top airports after TSA agents were calling in sick. Many hadn't been paid for over a month. More from Town Hall.
Join your co-hosts Mike Tooman and Paul Burvitt on our weekly radio hour, Chief Guard of the Republic, where we talk about all things national security, defense, personal security, safety, and dealing with law enforcement situations. Call in 847-931-1410. Ask us questions. We will get you answers every week, Saturday, noon to 1 on 1410 AM WRMN Elgin. Streaming on WRMN1410.com. Chat with us on WRMN's YouTube live channel.
Chicago defense attorney Mark Sheblow has co-authored the book titled DUI Jury Trial, which is a true story of a DUI case that he defended. The accused was an Illinois truck driver arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol. This book contains facts about the case from the date of the arrest up to the jury's verdict, and this nonfiction novel also includes the transcripts from the jury trial itself. The book DUI Jury Trial is now available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
Fixed bayonets, comrades. This is Chief Guard of the Republic Veterans Radio Shoutout Show with your co-hosts Mike Tooman and Paul Burvitt every Saturday noon until 2 here on WRMN 1410 AM out of Elgin with a massive 2,000 watts coming off an antenna by the expressway. All right, so if you're on the expressway, you're getting real good. You can also stream in if you're not that close to the expressway and you want to get the good signal. Use your cell phone. Go to WRMN1410.com, hit listen live, and bam, you got it right there over your internet. And it doesn't it's live. Or if you're watching us now on the YouTube live channel for WRMN 1410, we're right there. And you can hear us and see us, although there's like a 2-second delay. So if I wave at myself, it takes me about a second to wave back. And then you can pick up our previous shows. Sometimes they're on WRMN. They're stacked up there. But without the commercials, they're on cgr.silink.net. I'll give you the link to the Chief Guard of the Republic YouTube channel. So I got a YouTube channel there, Chief Guard of the Republic. You hit the live, well, that's live streaming, right? Or that'll go to yours.
Oh, is it? Let me see.
Yeah, that goes to your.
It goes to WRMN.
Yeah, WRMN. But I have one of my own. So Showtime's link. Go to links. Go to links.
Click here.
Is that it?
That's it.
Yeah, there we are. So Matt just pulled it up on the screen there so everyone can see it. All right, Paul. First of all, a shout out to all the Vietnam veterans. Tomorrow is the 23rd anniversary of the last day we're in Vietnam, March 29th.
No, it's the 53rd.
53rd, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was close. The 53rd. Wow, man, I'm old. So that was 1973. I was only 9 years old going on 10. So yeah.
I remember going to church on a Saturday night and they were mentioning that.
Yeah, so there's going to be a big event downtown tomorrow morning at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Most of my buddies from the Dunkin' Donuts veterans will be down there. So shout out to Dunkin' Donuts veterans. Meet every Tuesday. We start at 9, 7939 West Dempster. We start at 9, but people get there around 8, usually over by 10:30. You know, it's a good time going there to meet other veterans and to hear a lot of information coming out for veterans. All right, so, okay, I got that. Blue Box Cafe, I was out there today. You know, I missed it last week. I was a little under the weather. But I went there today. Great sandwich, great coffee, great people. All right, Paul, I wanted to talk today about the vilification of law enforcement and how people that haven't actually read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein don't really understand, because all they see is the Hollywood versions of Frankenstein. And it doesn't get into the depth of the way Dr. Frankenstein had created the monster. All right. And he had all good intentions. He didn't create something to destroy the world, right? He created something to help mankind. But it turned out in his ego, he was creating something, you know, that he'd have control over. He was the creator. And then the monster turns on him. It turns on them. It absolutely turns. And in the end, it destroys them. And it's left there unfettered now. It's totally unfettered. The only one that was working against it was Dr. Frankenstein. And he dies on the ice packs north of Archangel. All right? And it was the monster that told the story to the ship that was stuck in the ice pack. All right? So what it is our politicians and our press are creating a monster. Well, they create one monster. They vilify the police. They say the police are the monsters. We have to rope them in. We have to bring them in. We have to depower them. We have to de-escalate them. We have to, bring them down and everything. But to do that, the press hyper reports any incident involving a police officer where they could twist it. There's no presumption of innocence for the police. Zero presumption. The press has zero presumption. The first thing they do is convict you. The press will convict you. Absolutely out there. And then, because they've already convicted you, they report you as convicted, as if you're convicted. And all the people see this because they're being inundated with it. Inundated. Every time a police officer does anything, he is under total scrutiny, and then the press blows apart. They jump ahead of themselves to get this and to make it a bigger thing than it could be, just bigger. And all the people that see this, the people that are still watching the legacy media and the mainstream media, the people that have been desensitized to the point where they believe everything this mainstream media tells them, everything, they are wholly believing that the police are out of control, just absolutely out of control. Case in point with the ICE, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, and the Border Patrol, right? The Customs and Border Patrol, law enforcement agencies that are merely doing their job. And 99.99% of the time, they are doing their job fantastically well, fantastically restrained against an unbelievable, their job has been made harder for no reason whatsoever, but they're still doing their job with restraint and professionalism. Now, when a camera angle can lie to the public, right? The press wholeheartedly knows they are twisting it. They are spinning it up. The case in point there is under Biden, they had the Border Patrol riding horses because it's the most efficient way out there on the borders of Arizona and Texas. And riding horses and trying to catch one of these illegal aliens jump the border. You don't know whether they're carrying what they're carrying. They could be a biological vector. They could be carrying a vest, whatever. But the Border Patrol's trying to stop them, to document them. And it looks like as if this Border Patrol guy might be whipping the guy, but he's not. He's merely holding his reins, right? He's holding his reins. But the press publishes that to make it look like the Border Patrol is whipping people as they come across the border. They have vilified those people. They have made them targets, the Border Patrol agents targets, by intentionally spinning the narrative, by taking things out of context. They know what they're doing. They hate the police, they hate law enforcement, and they want you to hate them too. So what happens now? What happens? What happens if we just say, okay, we do what the Democrats in the Senate want to do? We say, okay, no more customs, no more ICE, no more Customs and Border Patrol. What do you think is going to happen, Paul?
Well, there's going to be a mass onslaught of weirdos coming in through the borders.
Yeah, and what are they going to do?
They're going to let them in.
Well, they're gonna murder, rape, rob people.
Right.
They're going to come in carrying all sorts of diseases, HIV, mumps, smallpox, tuberculosis, and they're going to spread it around because they don't care. They're going to spread it around. Now, what is the Democratic Senate going to do to prevent this? What are they going to do?
They'll set up a program to integrate these people into society, and then they'll buy hotels, and then they'll send them to our schools where they don't speak English. Oh, wait, that happened 2 years ago.
Is that gonna cure their AIDS?
No, it's going to spread it.
Is that going to cure their tuberculosis?
No, it's going to spread it.
Is that going to stop them from robbing people?
It's going to spread it.
Is it going to stop them from raping people?
It's going to be worse.
Okay, so now you're a victim of one of these guys that came in.
Mm-hmm.
All right? That shouldn't have come in. So what do? Sue Congress for changing the law?
You can't.
So the people don't see until they're the victim, and then they're like, oh, I'm so sorry I voted that way. Oh, I was wrong. Okay, now ask for an apology for everyone else that was a victim.
I've never heard one person in that situation actually do that.
Well,
I've had a guy that was convicted of murder several times, and his convictions were overturned. And these, what we would call, compassionate bleeding heart type people, they got him out. They let him stay with him. And then the guy actually did worse things. But I've never heard those people say that, I made a mistake. They still blame it on society. They blame it on the lack of compassion and incarceration, the lack of alternative. They will never admit they're wrong, even to the tune of someone innocently being murdered. And I applaud this recent poor college graduate student's family for saying, hey, look, this is our daughter. She was somebody. She was worth it. Your policies suck. Okay, you caused this. See, that's what people should do. But the media discourages that.
Okay, she's from New York. She's from New York, and she's going to Loyola University in Chicago. Correct. I'm going to ask you what her political leanings may have been. Take a guess.
I have no idea, and I don't care.
Okay, you don't care. Yeah, I don't care either. But here's the thing. Unfortunately, I think she's a victim. She's absolutely a victim of our sanctuary state and sanctuary city. 100%. The blood of every person that voted for the governor that said sanctuary city, sanctuary state, and the mayor that says it's a sanctuary city, the blood of that girl is on their hands completely. All right, on their hands completely. Now, had we not had a mayor whose police department, even the police department turned against, he politicized them and they backed off from that, right? But said, hey, do not support the ICE. Do not go and back them up, right? Even when they're in danger. Someone's attacking them with a gun. And the local police are called to take action, and they're like, nope. Selective enforcement, right? Because now they're even trying to turn the local police against the federals. There's always been a competition between locals and feds. It's always there, but not a deep, burning hatred. So if you want to destroy something, split them up into smaller groups, right? And turn them against each other. What I'm saying is, at some point in time, the press is never going to come out and say, what did the guy in New York, all right? The guy in New York. Mandami. He says it's Trump's fault. How? But he says that. And the press, boom, look, it's Trump's fault. Look at this guy that got elected mayor that has done zero in his life except getting elected mayor. And they paint it up like it's really, like it's gospel, right? They paint up, oh, this is the truth. See, listen to this guy. Look how popular he is. He's the mayor of New York, a city of 7 million people. And he says a bold, flat-out lie because there's nothing else he can say about it. Because the truth of the matter is that girl would be alive, right? I could say that. She'd be alive today, except for Mayor Johnson, Governor Pritzker, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, who's the, oh my God, I'm trying to think of the former attorney general under Biden. He's so insignificant that, if it wasn't for them, that girl would be alive, absolutely alive today. Because this guy would have never came into the country. Had he come into the country and already committed the crimes, Chicago arrested him. He'd be in custody. In the old days, when I came on the job, we're still a sanctuary. We're a sanctuary city under Mayor Daley. All right, we're a sanctuary city. We're not going to cooperate with ICE. And so I would pull over guys. I would run them through the database, and they would come up with deportation warrants. Right? I couldn't do anything about that. If they're charged with a felony, they went to Cook County. If they couldn't post bond. So they go to Cook County. ICE used to come into Cook County and pull out all the guys charged with a felony that had deportation warrants and deport them. They didn't even care about the misdemeanors. They just went with the felons. Because there were too many of them. But that was no one heard about any protests or anything because it was very quiet. They ridded them out county and sent them back wherever they came from. Sometimes they came back here, right? But they were gone. That's the same thing. If we pull them over in Chicago for a crime or for suspicion of a crime where I have reasonable suspicion that a crime has been committed or is being committed, right? And I pull him over to do investigation, or I stop him. Hey, on the street, I get his name from him, I run his name, pops a warrant, I lock him up. What's my probable cause? Probable cause was reasonable suspicion. I had the reasonable suspicion to run his name. The name came up, there's a warrant. I don't need probable cause, there's a warrant. Right? I bring him in. I've got him in custody. I haven't fought with them. There ain't a million people protesting. There ain't people blowing whistles in my ear, screaming at me. I bring him into Chicago. He goes down to central detention. Here comes ICE in with a nice van one day. Pulls them all in at like 3 a.m, deports them. No muss, no fuss, no one's hurt, no one's shot. No one's shot on the street, no one's hit by a car, nothing. Simple, right? Why don't we do that? Am I making no sense here?
No, you're speaking the truth.
It is the most sensible thing in the world. Here is the reason. You want to hear the reason? Well,
sure.
See, there's a lot of crime out here, and there could be witnesses to the crime or victims. And we don't want the victims to be afraid of the police and not come in and report the crime, or not to cooperate with the police to be witnesses for like a homicide that they saw because they're afraid of getting deported. I says, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. You would love if people didn't report crimes. They would love it. They would be like, woohoo, look at all the crime. The crime's still there. It's just the people that are victims aren't reporting it. Because, all right, so here's a truism for you. 95% of the time, if you give a false alibi, that is absolute proof to me that you're guilty. 95% of the time. You know what the other 5% is? You're guilty of something else that you don't want me to know about. So you give a false alibi, not because you're guilty of the crime I got you for now, but because if you told me where you were, I'd be like, hey, wasn't that the house where 4 people were killed? Well, you really have no living alibi, but there's a lot of your DNA there and everything to be an alibi for you, right? So you didn't commit that auto theft. I couldn't have committed auto theft. I was busy killing someone. That's where you get the 5%. And here you got this, right? So we're villains because they'll be afraid of us. The nice, innocent people will be afraid of us. Well, why are they afraid of us? What did I do to them? I'm not going out to get a pinch for, okay, local police, right? We had a thing, guys that when they made an arrest, they wanted court time, overtime, right? Because you get paid time and a half. It's more money. You know, you really don't make a lot of money as a police officer, but if you play the system right, by doing your job to the letter and everything, you can make some money, right? Not a great amount, but maybe enough to invest in everything, right? So I'm not gonna go out of my way to make an arrest where I don't have to go to court. There's no money in it for me. I mean, I make an arrest, I do my job, okay, where's the payback for it? It's called busting for bucks, right? An immigration deportation thing, I'm not going to get called in. I'm not going to get any court time. I'm not going out looking for illegal aliens as a local police officer. Not my job. Not my job to look for them. But if in the process of me doing my job, I find them, shouldn't I have to turn them over to the feds? Isn't that just the only right thing to do? Because if I don't, and someone gets hurt on account of it, and they find out I stopped them, and I get sued in federal court, ask me what the city's going to do. Will the city cover me?
No.
No, they'll throw me to the wolves. Well, that isn't exactly our policy. No, it's exactly your policy. He wasn't allowed to take police action on that. He wasn't allowed to take police action, so he let the guy go, and the guy immediately stabbed the little old lady to death, or whatever. Picked up a rock and crushed her head in. That's absolutely their policy, but they're not going to back you up. This is the thing, all right? Again, they turn you into a monster. Well, it's because of the stupid police officer. It's not our policies. It's the dumb police officer. Should have found a way around our policies to be able to arrest this guy and turn him in, even though he had no probable cause, except for the deportation warrant, which he can't enforce because he's not a federal officer. He doesn't have federal powers, and the city won't let him enforce it, all right? Because the city's not cooperating. That's middling you, right? Middling a police officer. How many people in their regular jobs are put into that sort of jeopardy? Guy at the cookie factory, all right? I'm going to let that broken cookie get into the bag. Is he going to get fired and sued in federal court because a broken cookie got into the Oreo bag? No. The scrutiny on the police is so unbelievable, right? That even doing your job, basically, you become a target for people ganging up on you, screaming at you, causing a scene, filming you from every conceivable angle, making you feel at risk. And if the press if the press said, well, that's just BS because that's just people messing with the police, and they didn't publicize this, no one would hear about it. And we'll be back for the second quarter of the Chief Guard of the Republic show. Want to read some action-packed, exciting pulp fiction? Read the works of Michael Tooman, now featuring their international crime thriller, I Married a Bot Madam. Available on Amazon in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle editions. The paperback is also available at other book retailers. Check out Michael Tooman's webpage at Scilink.net. That's Papa Sierra Yankee Lima India November Kilo dot November Echo Tango.
Get ready for an unforgettable night out in downtown St. Charles at O-Shows, where live music, dining, and entertainment come alive. Visit the iconic Arcada Theater at 105 East Main Street and experience the venue voted Chicagoland's premier entertainment destination. Whether you're enjoying a headliner concert, dining at Rock and Ravioli, or hitting the speakeasy at Club Arcada, O-Shows creates memories. Tickets and event info at oshows.com, and you can call 630-962-7000. That's 630-962-7000. Make your reservation, bring your friends, and plan your next event at O-Shows. Live music, dining, and entertainment, all in one place. Visit oshows.com and join the fun tonight. Supporter of the America's First Responder Fest.
If your idea of therapy involves a fishing rod, a tree stand, or a campfire, then you need American Outdoors Radio. Host John Cruz speaks your language, whether it's about the best lures, tracking game, or that one buddy who always forgets to bring the beer. John's got the tips to sharpen your aim, the hacks to pack lighter, and the stories to keep you entertained. Again, that's American Outdoor Radio with John Cruz. Saturdays at 7 a.m. on WRMN 1410. Or stream it at WRMN1410.com. Get ready to outfish, outhunt, and outcamp them all on American Outdoor Radio with John Cruz.
Real talent is defined by what people can do, not where they learn to do it. So by stopping at the education section of a resume, you might throw away the perfect hire. You might miss someone who has valuable skills to offer to help your business thrive right now and in the future. Because the truth is this: Skills First Hiring helps you see talent others miss, like more than 70 million stars, skilled through alternative routes. When you let their story unfold, you gain a competitive advantage, because hiring managers who start with skills are 60% more likely to find a successful hire. See the real person, complete. See what others miss. Hire skills first. Learn why it's a competitive advantage at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
Join your co-hosts Mike Tooman and Paul Burvitt on our weekly radio hour, Chief Guard of the Republic, where we talk about all things national security, defense, personal security, safety, and dealing with law enforcement situations. Call in 847-931-1410. Ask us questions. We will get you answers every week, Saturday, noon to 1 on 1410 AM WRMN Elgin. Streaming on WRMN1410.com. Chat with us on WRMN's YouTube live channel. Fixed bayonets, comrades, we're back for the second quarter and maybe the third quarter of the Chief Guard of the Republic show. Don't call in until I give you the word, because I won't be able to answer. But you can text in the magic text line or hit us up in the chat on the YouTube Live. And I see Cleveland Dennis is there. He goes, "Just who are the media you speak of?" And I says, BM, the big media. BM also stands for something else that we know of. So this is a local radio channel, and we have a variety of radio hosts, and I respect them all, right? And everyone has an opinion. This is almost like, what do they call it? Open, public. It's almost like public access to me. All right, I got the radio show here. I have my opinions, which you could tell lean a little conservative, right, in some ways. But I try to be open for everyone's opinion. What I don't like is people that are spouting other people's opinions to me, people that are not critically thinking of stuff, right? They're not critically thinking, and they're just saying things that they hear on, I could tell CNN, I could tell NBC, MSNBC, even WGN, even Fox News sometimes. These are all big things, and they have editors that have a certain focus, and they want you to focus on that. So it's never fair and balanced, right? It's never fair and balanced. I can't really say I'm fair and balanced, right? But I don't want people, I'm not going to tell you who's right and who's wrong on these situations. I don't have all the evidence. I could just tell you that make up your mind, not based on what some talking head that went through some college and got his journalist degree, right? But he really has his job because he looks good, he has some connections, and he could read well, and he has a Midwest accent. And if you ask him anything critical about it, like to think about something, he only reads the scripts he's given. And when he goes off script, you can see how bright these guys are. Not that I'm the brightest, the sharpest knife in the drawer, or the brightest bulb in the lamp, you know? All right, so, Paul, give me an example where the media totally vilified the police.
Well, the most recent one is the issue in Minnesota, okay? And then there have been circumstances where there have been problems where they tell a story. I was watching. There's a YouTube host called Dr. Todd Grande, and he's like a psychiatric social worker type thing. And he takes either court cases or historical things, and he looks into them. There was a recent case in the last couple of days where a woman who was a former police officer herself was brought up on charges for trying to kill another police officer, and she had a baby with her fiance who was a fireman, and these were people from her department. And she had a trial with a judge, and her story was she was going to use the gun and kill herself with it. His story was that they were letting her get some things to leave the house, and he was in the room, and she pointed the gun at him. In both cases, they both indicated that she had fired the pistol, but it had not gone off. All right. And he shot her. And she had several months of recovery. And they did the trial by a bench trial. And I believe she was found not guilty. And, there's could only be three possibilities. Okay. Either the woman's right, the officer's right, or there was a conspiracy because allegedly when they found the gun, it had a live round in the chamber. All right. So, you have circumstances that, a lot of it's the reason of our criminal justice system, because sometimes you can't hide your lying eyes. you know the person did it. But the only way to get the defendant off is to concoct some story.
Yes.
I remember I was sitting in court once with a defense attorney who I knew very well, and he told me an interesting story. And the story was that a guy was being followed by the police, okay? And he went to a meet, and he was involved in a drug transaction, and he left the drug transaction, and he was tailed by the police, and they finally did a traffic stop on him, okay? And he burst out of the car, and this is the story from the police, right? And he ran up to the police, and he goes, "Don't look in my trunk. You know, I've got X contraband in there."
That's an admission.
Well, then they did, and then they found it. Okay, so they arrested him. So they went to the preliminary hearing, and you know what happened?
They threw it out because the judge says, what probable cause did you have to stop him?
No, they threw it out because the judge says, I don't believe anybody would ever go to the police and say that.
Because that judge never worked on the street.
Right. But you want to know what the defense attorney told me? That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So in order to get people to give them a defense, sometimes you have to concoct a story.
Well, the press concocts these stories for them.
Well, they're doing it they've become what in essence is the defense now.
All right,
so now you as the government, you have 4 people against you now. You have the defense, the judge, the press, and now the manipulated society.
Yes. All right. So I think this all not all of it's been going on for years. If you go back to Rodney King, right? The press took the whole beating, and I'll tell you what, the Rodney King beating doesn't even come up to a 7. On a scale of 1 to 10, comes up to 7. All right? What they did is they took it out of context. They just showed the police officers wailing on this guy, right? They didn't show him 9,000 miles an hour through residential neighborhoods. If a little kid came out, someone's dog, anything, he would have killed them, right? It doesn't show him picking up a police officer and literally throwing her across a car, right? Didn't show any of this. But when they charged the officers because the press manipulated the public, manipulated the politicians who decided, oh, let's just let them have their day in court. You know, if they're innocent, right? And of course, the jury gets to see the entire video. And of course, they're acquitted. But what happens now? What happens now, Paul? Well, because the press sees that the people see they're acquitted. They were promised by the press that these guys were guilty. They're wondering how could they acquit them, and they start rioting. It's because it was a black man who was the, quote, victim, right? Because the press created this monster. The politicians allowed it to happen, and the monster turned on stuff because they thought it was a sure thing. They don't realize that, hey, maybe sometimes there's a judge there that says, holy cow, what if I get this overturned? You know, what happens? You know, so he says, no, you got to show him the whole thing in context, you know? Now, like you said, the judges will be like, nope, not going to allow that in. Wait a second. I thought the defense, well, these are police officers. They're not actually citizens. You know, they don't have the right. Right? They don't have that right to present a defense. What? Oh, no. Do you see? There's 2-step standards. The judge isn't going to say that, but that's the way they'll roll. All right. All right. So it starts out with that. So now, okay, maybe getting caught on video clubbing a guy like that after they tased him multiple times, and policy at the time was if you tase him and he's still not going down, shoot him. They didn't shoot him. They clubbed him. Right? So they followed policy. They followed policy exactly. Except for shooting them, right? And they get charged, they get acquitted, right? Then they get charged again, right? Now it's a federal civil rights thing. Oh, no, let's bring in the feds and charge them. Double jeopardy. No, it's different charges for the same crime. Well, we charged him with murder and we couldn't get him convicted, so now we're charging him with aggravated battery. It's not the same crime, right, Paul? Same instances, but the feds are going to charge you.
They arise out of the same situation, but they have different elements, some more, some less.
Yeah, but, you're still double jeoparding these guys, but you're calling it federal civil rights. Federal civil rights violation. Okay. It's the same event. It's the same event. That happened in Chicago, right? With the Burge case.
Right.
Burge, O'Hare, Eucitis, those guys, right? They were tried in state court, acquitted. Tried in federal court, acquitted. Sued in state court, not liable. Sued in federal court, not liable. What did Burge go to jail for?
Perjury.
Because he misspoke to an FBI agent years after the event.
Well, it was a deposition that he gave under oath.
Yeah, all right. Was it proven that it was a lie? They said it.
Well,
the FBI said it was untrue. Could you prove that he was lying? That he knew he was lying? It's just the FBI said it was untrue. Oh, this guy said this criminal who murdered 2 police officers, coup d'etat him in cold blood, said he didn't do it. Said he was tortured. All right, so let's do a credibility list on this, right? So they based Burge's conviction based on the FBI believes the criminal had more credibility than the police commander. That's how you really, in a civil case, Paul, it's credibility, right?
Right.
All right. So whoever's the more credible, if there's no physical evidence, it's going to be based on credibility. They just make stuff up like that because as a police officer, apparently with the press, you're guilty until proven innocent, unless you're one of their favorites. So you have to become a politician, and you have to basically be the love slave for the press. You have to be afraid of them. You have to treat them like everything else. You have to basically beg them to not go after you. Then they love you as a police officer because now you're one thing that'll never enforce the law. You're a guy so afraid of the press that you're not going to enforce the law. Now the press is great with you. Here's a theory. Tell me what you think of this theory. The reason the press hates the police is because they're everything the press is not. Do you think that's a true statement?
Yes.
All right, so police officer goes out there, right? You go into the old pre-FOP when the police were fighting for a contract, right? And there's that commercial out there. You won't go into that alley for $1 million. A police officer does it for a lot less. Do you think one of these guys is going to go by himself into the Elgin Gardens questioning people about a homicide? Excuse me, what did you see? Well, you live right here. Why didn't you see it? Do an investigative report, right? Say, you live right here. You were outside. I got videotape of you. Don't you know that guy? What would happen to that press guy now? Well, they beat him to death right there. You know? He can't do that. He can only interview people in a safe environment. Right?
Well, not only that, they get tips from the lawyers who are manipulating the press to get good pre-publicity so that they could affect juries ahead of time. They plant the seeds. They do their own pre-publicity and they're laying the mattress out ahead of time. So the press is getting information from them. They act like they do independent source, but they're getting the lead from that guy, and they're getting spoon-fed information from the guy who wants them to get a certain story, not the true story.
I had that problem in Afghanistan where a so-called counterintelligence guy, which he wasn't, he was an analyst working for
the buzzer.
The buzzer.
The buzzer. No. Keys. Give me the keys. Go ahead.
Counterintelligence guy, right? Kept giving my colonel information before he gave it to me. So when I was doing a briefing, I didn't have the information, right? I can't brief the information I don't have, right? I'd be getting sharp shot by the colonel saying, well, what about this? How come you don't know about this? And I finally find out, who told you that, right? And I check it out, and the information is there. Now that I check it out, right, with this guy, I says, well, why didn't you come to me first? Because he was ingratiating himself with this colonel, right? Try to look like a big man and everything. But he doesn't come to the guy that gets the work done. Right? So we had a little discussion over that, you know. But yeah, you're right. Out there, these guys, they have the connections and everything. You know, what's more important, getting the story or getting the bad guy off the street, Paul?
I'd say getting the bad guy off the street.
I would too.
Some people, it's all about the story.
It's all about the story, getting their name up there, getting the scoop and everything. And they don't care that if they, let's say they get it totally wrong, like the kid in Kenosha, right? The press was all over trashing that guy until they let the jury see the entire video.
Hey, Mike, I'll be right back. There's something going on outside. All right.
All right. So until the jury saw the entire video, right? The press kept trashing this kid. All of a sudden, the jury sees the entire video, the kid's acquitted, and the press shuts up. I bet you no one knows how much money the press settled for on this kid. Hundreds of millions of dollars. Because they knew for a fact that if this went to jury trial, if he sued them and it went to jury trial, they would be out of business because of the manipulation they did. And it could almost go to a criminal. You know, your influence, it's jury tampering almost. You know, if you know that there is, what do we call it? There's evidence that'll prove, if I'm a detective and I find evidence that'll prove that this guy is, if not innocent, not guilty, right? That someone else had done it, that proves his alibi, that he couldn't have done it, the actual crime. If I find evidence to that effect and I hide the evidence, right? Destroy the evidence, get rid of it, right? Lie about it, I am guilty of a crime. I am guilty. I'm really guilty because this is really bad. I am putting a guilty man in prison because I found evidence and destroyed it. And now the only evidence that's getting out there is evidence pointing at this guy, and that's all the jury gets to see because they're not seeing the evidence because it's not there anymore. It used to be there, but it's not there anymore. They can't find it. They can't admit it into court. Right? If the press was held to that standard, they would have to be fair in reporting. You say, hey, listen, why didn't you show the first half of this video? Why did you only show the ending half? Or why did you show the first half and not the ending half, right? Why didn't you show that? You had the whole thing. We didn't have enough time in the time slot. Really? Really? That's not a legitimate answer. That's everyone there. I mean, this is where you should be angry. You know, this is the only way this is going to solve, right? Is if every time the press has proved that they got it wrong, that they leaned the wrong way, right? That they spun it the wrong way, and it's been proven, and the good citizens on the jury find out that everyone in the world should turn off that. And once proven, if you take it to a suit, then the FCC should take them off. Should take them to court, or take their license away. Big rich guys that own this stuff, they have their thing, and the people are trying to suck up to them to get their name in because they want to move up from being the cub reporter on the street to being the guy on the sitting on the 5 o'clock news, even though they look like Quasimodo, and they dress like a clown, right? They're never going to be sitting there, for the whole nightly news hour behind that desk. But they want to be there, so they do everything they can for the bosses, so the bosses like them to put them in. They are, the worst part of it is, if you think about it, the harder they make a police officer's job, the more dangerous they make a police officer's job, the more dangerous they make this world for you and everyone else, to include themselves, but they're too stupid to realize after a while it's going to turn on them, or they just think they're smart enough that they can keep away from it. Dr. Frankenstein, dead on the ice pack. I like to see some of these guys, victims of their own petard. Is that the right word?
Yep.
Yeah. Suddenly, the table turns, and they're the focus. They're the focus. They're guilty till proven innocent. It was so funny, right? This was another thing I saw where it's the FAFO, right? FAFO, right? A lot of these people go to jail because they FA'd, and they finally found out that, at a certain point, the police are almost obligated to put them in jail. And then they're like, well, I didn't think I was going to go to jail. So, like you said, the defense attorney creates a story. Well, my client, who actually lives in Winnetka, was at the No Kings March or whatever, right, on the southwest side of Chicago, or was in Broadview, protesting. Let's say he's in Broadview protesting ICE, right? He wasn't protesting ICE. He had just gotten lost. He got lost, right? And he innocently walked by, and when he was in the ICE agent's face, screaming and spitting on him. He was just asking for directions, and he thought the ICE agent was deaf. Right, Paul? Believable, right?
Right.
Believable.
Right.
Well, I believe that. It's good enough for me. Innocent. Reasonable doubt. Well, everyone knows there's no reason that guy should be. I used to get the younger guys working with me in patrol, right? And I worked in the Magic 11th District. They still called it Fillmore, even though it was on Harrison. The west side. And I say, oh, guys, right out of the academy. I says, I'm going to show you how to spot a junkie. Like I had some secret knowledge of this, that I'm drug enforcement or whatever. And I'd be like, nah, local, junkie. They go, how'd you know? I says, he's white. There's no other reason for him to be here. Except to buy drugs. He's not lost. He knows exactly where he's going. See? But make up a story. Could I say that in court? That was kind of like a joke. Would I say that in court? Well, officer, why did you stop my client? Because he was white. Well, that's kind of racist. I'm like, no, honestly, I was impressed that he had made it that far. I wanted to ask him what his secret was. Well, I knew his secret. He was a junkie. He was protected. He's got $10 to pay the drug dealers. No one's going to mess with him. They're going to let him buy his drugs. They're going to let him get out. Because if they mess with them, that's $10 that this guy consistently brings to the drug dealer. So if you're killing the drug dealer's customers or stealing their dope or stealing their money, which should come to the drug dealer, right? Well, he's going to send his boys out to teach you a lesson. Can you articulate? If I articulated that, I'm articulating stuff like that here now on my radio station, right? But if I was in court and I had to articulate something like that, the judge, unless the judge was a police officer, right? Unless the judge was a junkie, you go, yeah, that's right, man. I walk right in there. I walk right out. Everyone leaves me alone. It's there. Does that count as articulating my probable cause based on color of skin? That's reverse racism. No, I'm a white guy. Look at me. I'm pasty. Right? It's called criminal profiling. Certain criminals have certain behavioral patterns. That's why I'm following behavioral patterns. Now, what would the press say? What would they, if the press had that, if this is a big, let's say I stop a guy, he's white, I don't know who he is, but he ends up to be the president's third cousin, right?
Can I interject something here? All right, and this goes to a tragedy that happened in my life to a friend of ours. So anyway, well, you're familiar with what Polish Highlanders aren't you?
Oh yeah, the Górale.
Yeah. What would you call their clothing?
Well, it's ethnic dress, all right? If you're wearing the ethnic, right, right now it's kind of like for fancy events, right? So it's kind of peasant outfit. You got a pair of pants, and you got a shirt, and you got the hat, and you're carrying an axe, right? Which is really a walking stick / axe, right? You know, you could look like a shepherd. I can't really describe it, but it's a puffy shirt.
No, but what do you call what they're wearing?
Odieżda? What?
No. You use it. What do you call that stuff? Isn't it a costume?
A costume, or a uniform. It's the local costume thinks that you're play acting, right? Cosplay and everything.
But it's in essence a costume because we're not in the hills, right?
Well, that's their daily wear in the hills. If I don't live in the hills and I put that on, I'm wearing a costume.
Exactly. So I could give you a set of facts where a case went to trial and an individual referred in a deposition to basically ethnic tribal wear.
Okay. We used to call that the ghetto uniform.
Exactly. Now, I would call it the ghetto uniform, and the defense lawyer would have a field day with that. Well, this person called it a costume, and they tore the person apart, and the judge let him do it. And what happens is, again, everybody needs a defense. Okay, it's our right as Americans. Our Constitution is based on that. But as I told this person before the trial went forward, they're going to lie, okay? And then they said, well, do you think the jury will think that's okay? And I said, yeah.
The jury will expect it.
Well, no, but both stories can't be true. Okay, so either they abused you or not, and when you use things like that, like I would say, you know, I would say they would say, how did they come to work? And you know, like you said, I could say the ghetto uniform, or my friend would say a costume, and I would say, you know, I thought I got some bad booze and I ended up in a Nairobi, Kenya alley. You know, so you know, whatever. They're all accurate, but they can't win unless they try to make it bad. Meanwhile,
make the people bad. When you're guilty,
meanwhile,
what you do is you destroy the arrest, you destroy the police officer, you impugn him, you impugn the prosecutor, you impugn the state, you impugn everyone but the judge.
Well, the judge is in on it. He's in the bag for the cause.
Yeah.
You know, and you know what's really funny? They all look like they were in a costume themselves, the lawyers. They were all wearing athletic cut suits and caramel shoes. Yeah. They look like doper grease balls. You know what I'm saying? But you know, that's just the way it goes. And you got to expect that. And
that's what we're dealing with as the police. We see this, right? It's not just. This is what keeps you. I think it's hard to do. All right, most people become the police. I'd say most people become the police because it's a job that pays a decent wage, somewhat decent wage, not what you're worth. It pays nowhere near what you're worth, not even close. Right, but it has some benefits, and it's kind of recession proof. You know, they're not going to lay off a lot. They might not hire a lot of police, but they're not going to lay you off, right? They tried that. It's not going to happen, right? And the thing is, now you go on to, you've been on the police department for a year, and the only thing you're thinking of now is how do I stay on the job? You're not thinking anymore about how do I do my job the best of my ability, right? You're thinking, how do I stay on this job? So I'm not enforcing the laws. I'm avoiding it at all costs. I'm making every excuse. I'm driving. Okay. Domestic in the housing projects. Always drove real slow with the siren on as loud as I could. Why? Give the dude a chance to wake up and walk away. There you go. Out you go. Give him a chance to walk out the door, get away before I got there. Then she's screaming, go look for him. I want him locked up. I says, tomorrow morning, Sunday night now, tomorrow morning's Monday morning, go down to domestic violence court, swear out a warrant for his arrest. There you go. If he comes back tonight, we'll lock him up. Guess who never went on Monday morning to get a warrant?
She didn't.
Never. Sometimes when you lock them up right away, they go down and they're like, police lied. I never said I want him arrested. Unless you got the body cam there. And even if you got the body cam there with her screaming bloody murder that she wants him arrested, with her signing the complaints in front of you, getting it sworn in front of the sergeant and everything, sergeant there, she's going to go into court and get him out and said, the police lied. And even when you show it to the judge, right? Because now she's under oath saying the police lied. They're just going to dismiss it for wanted prosecution. But gone. Instead of doing what they should do, is this your signature? No. Well, why do we have the video camera of you signing it, right? Why do we have that? And the sergeant here is swearing that you were there and you swore to this. And then, you go, wait a second, all right? You did all this, you signed the complaints and everything. They arrested him, right? You're on video, and now you just under oath said that you didn't do that. So you lied then, you lied now. 2 counts of perjury, 10 years in prison. Ah! And guess what? Guess what happens when you do that, Paul? For 10 years, she never calls the police again. And when her girlfriends and everyone else sees that happens now, they don't do it either. Right? And when they have the guy locked up, he stays in jail, where he's not going to beat him again or whatever. Because they're not going to go out and say, I lied, I didn't lie, or the police lied. Their only defense is the police lied. That has happened multiple times. So when you do your job 100%, and then you're getting accused by the same people you're supposed to be protecting because they changed their mind, and they call you a liar because they can't call themselves a liar, that makes the job even worse. And then, it's like you're in court there, and all the judge keeps hearing is that the police lied, but he never sees the evidence to the contrary. I'd have to say some of the judges believe, but I think nowadays the judges are trying to. You have less credibility than anyone in there because of this constant thing and the constant. All these people are FAing and no one is FOing, right? Until they do. And when they do FO, right, then they cry and whine and everything, and they turn themselves into the victim. So why would you want to be the police other than the pay, the security? A few guys out there really have, they really want to do the right thing. They really want to do good. They have blessed are the peacemakers, right? For they're going to see God. Blessed are the righteous, for they'll have their fill, right? Blessed, here. Okay, this Saturday, I'm not really a preacher, Blessed are you when they curse and vile and throw all sorts of insults at you. Rejoice, for your reward is great in heaven. And that's all I could say about law enforcement now. That is what you got to hold on to. You got to hold on to that one statement right there. You got to hold on to that. Because otherwise you just won't do your job. You know? But unfortunately, the people that could be easily psyoped and easily manipulated, by the press, evil, right? They are encouraging what? I haven't seen any Burger King hats come by. Have you seen any come by, Paul?
No.
Because, oh my God, no King's Day, right? These are the same people that, so I stopped watching Law & Order because every third show was about a corrupt police officer. Because they got 7 million people in New York, and all they could find is corrupt police officers among 30,000, which leads me to believe that the government of New York is completely corrupt for allowing to hire so many corrupt police officers and not having overwatch on them and not having proper training and not doing, good evaluations or anything, right? So it's not their fault. All right. So in typical Law and Order fashion, when they can't convict the guilty guy, right, they go after some other agency to get a conviction. So, the jury believed that the hitman, right, the hitman wouldn't have done it unless he had been paid. So they found the hitman innocent, so now we're going to go after the guy that paid him. But we're not going to go after the guy that paid him because he's already dead because the hitman got rid of the witnesses. We're going to go after the company that the guy worked for that paid him so he could have money to pay the hitman. And it gets that convoluted with them. And they think that this will go through, that this is what happens in court. Paul, if a case had such if a guy was found innocent, right? Would the state go after? I mean, he's found innocent. Would the state go after him a second?
We don't ever find him innocent. We find him not guilty. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
But it just... All right, so the people see all this on television. They're inundated with corrupt police, corrupt that in the movies, corrupt this. Oh, I was watching a show, all right? Here, I'll put a slam on it right now. I don't even know the name of it. I just thought, okay, this is new on Apple TV, right? And it's about, an alternate timeline where the Russians landed on the moon first, right? And it got these two astronauts that were supposed to land on the moon, but they wouldn't let them land on the moon because of some glitch, right? And they're talking about, and one guy starts talking about how the police were beating people unnecessarily in 1968. I'm like, okay, click, shut it right off. I'm like, I'm done. I wasted up to this time. I don't care where this goes now.
The police were beating people up on the moon in 1968?
No, in Chicago.
No, I know, I got it. I know.
In Chicago, right? Right? It's like there was a giant riot happening, right? People were, not just the police, other people were hurting each other. There was things going bad, property damage, everything else, right? But yet, he's going to get down there, supposedly an astronaut, right? And he's going to put the police at fault immediately. But that's the writer doing it. It's a writer. And all of a sudden, his vision is coming in. Guarantee you the writer wasn't there in 68, right? He wasn't there. He read some stuff was twisted or what for his own view. You know who was there in 68, Paul? My dad was there.
Your dad?
Your dad was there.
Yeah.
I got to see him come home all tired and everything. And
yeah, I know. People got hurt. People got hurt.
Police officers got hurt.
Yeah. My buddy Rich, he's one of the guys on the famous Time magazine cover. You could see him going up with his arm and everything.
Yeah,
right after that picture, he was knocked down on the ground. I mean, So a lot of people don't know. You know what we call that? We call that revisionist history. We call that looking at it through what they would call
rose-colored glasses,
rarefied, augmented analysis. You're imposing something on it that didn't exist at the time, or trying to rationalize it through something that had nothing to do with the event.
So all these police movies that I see, you look at them, right? And you're like, oh, they're all Serpico. Everyone's Serpico now. And the whole police department's evil, except for this one guy who's going to be our hero. And he's an alcoholic. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I'm not watching this one. Click.
I was going to tell you were talking about Law and Order. I used to like Criminal Intent. I used to like Gorin. I still do. I think he's really good. But anyway, you know what the best New York police movie that I ever saw was?
Escape from New York.
No. Striking Distance with Bruce Willis. And you want to know something?
He's on the riverboat.
I know, that's in Pittsburgh. So it's a Pittsburgh movie, but it's a real New York film,
Yeah.
The whole family is cops. Some crooked, some good, some covering up. But it's like Blue Bloods on the river. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Well. Thank God it was me, my dad, my brother, and me, right? And that's where it ended. Well, my sister was Cook County, right? But my dad, my brother, me, my sister, that's where it ended. My brother's son, not going to be the police. My son, not going to be the police. It's like, boop, legacy ended. You don't see that because we don't have the clout to move up in the world or protect us. So, and the 90% of the police out there are just regular guys, right? Trying to make it. They're trying to do the right thing. Here's another trouble, right? So, most of the people never are involved with the police. Never. They don't see they see on TV and everything, right? TV, the movies, maybe they hear the sirens and take a look and there's a squad car going by or whatever. Maybe you see someone pulled over. But then they get pulled over because they clearly blew a red light because they were on their cell phone texting someone. They clearly blew a red light. They get pulled over and they said, oh, no, it wasn't me. I didn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I don't want a ticket, And then they hate the police forever because they got a ticket. And I've always paid my taxes. Why should I have to pay this ticket? Which is just, it's more income, but it was dangerous. And that's their involvement with the police. And they're not like me. I'm like, dude, I am the worst. I am an aggressive driver trying not to be, right? I'm going to admit these things, right? I'm an aggressive driver. I try not to be. I'm really holding in it. When I get pulled out over by the police, one of two things is going to happen. They're not going to write me a ticket or they're going to write me a ticket. Nothing that I do is going to change that, except maybe I'm like a little humble because I know I'm an aggressive driver, right? I'm a little humble and I'm like, okay. Oh, officer, can I pay this fine by mail? No, okay. Thank you. Have a good day. Sorry about that. Won't happen again. Probably will happen again. What's his job is to write. His job is to protect people, traffic and everything, right? He's doing his job out there. It's a dangerous job. I did it. I understand it. They could tell I'm the police, right? If they're going to write me, they're going to write me. So what? Other people never have the only, or they get a parking ticket. Oh, that's the best because they don't even realize that it's not the police. It's a meter maid. It's a meter maid wrote them that ticket. They're like, the police are writing me the parking tickets. Nope, meter maid did it. She's not the police. But that's their, now they're all anti-police because they think that they were unjustifiably oppressed. They interviewed one guy from Evanston about ICE being in the airport. So I'm sure these press guys had to search high and low for this guy. I don't know how many interviews they did, and this guy says, I was really frosted because I had to show my passport twice. This is how he's been oppressed his whole life, Paul. He's on a flight, right? He's got money to fly somewhere. He's in the most protected place in the world right now, an airport, right? Everyone search, metal detectors, everything else. Don't bring this. Don't have more than this much water, Don't wear your shoes. Take off your belt, Right? All this, the most protected thing in the world. And this guy's frosted because I had to show my passport twice. How oppressive these ICE agents. And that's the guy that they put on the news. Not the thousands and thousands of people who are saying, oh my God, thank God they're here. Look, things are going so much smoother. Oh, look, they're so friendly. I didn't think they don't look dangerous. They're not mean. They're not shooting us. They said they were going to shoot us. They're not shooting us. But the press goes and finds that one goof. Total goof. I hope he's listening or I hope someone's listening that knows this goof and tells him he's a complete goof. I'm flying back from Afghanistan. 2002. I've got everything I own in a Foot Locker that the Army gave me. That's the only thing I got for luggage, right? The weight limit at the airport is 70 pounds on this. It weighs 72 pounds. The only reason they're flying is because I'm over in Afghanistan. Remember they stopped all the flights? Remember that, Paul?
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
So I'm in Afghanistan. I went through Afghanistan. I'm coming back. I got military equipment in there. That's my only luggage, except for carry-on. That's it. They wouldn't let me bring it on. They said, you got to lower the weight. So I took out my gas mask. I took out my helmet, my protective mask, right? And I took out my helmet. I put my helmet on. I put my protective mask around my waist. There, 70 pounds, right? Less than 70 pounds now. And I wore that on the plane.
Yeah.
And I asked everyone on the plane, what, they didn't give you one of these? I thought they were issuing them to everyone on the plane. I'm in civilian clothes wearing this stuff. So he's frosted. He's frosted. He had to show his passport twice. I'm going through the airport again. This is, this is the people, right, that are protesting the police that think that I should be eliminated because he had to show his passport twice. Then I'm going through the airport. I'm in uniform now. Right? I'm coming back from Afghanistan again, but this was 2007. TSA stops me. They're going to search me. I'm like, no, you're not touching me. I'm U.S. military on military orders. You're not touching me. They put me in the penalty box. I didn't want security chasing me down and everything. And their boss comes by, and he gets this terrorized look on his face of why I'm standing in a penalty box. And he asks his people, he says, well, he's got to be searched. There's a little mark on his ticket. That's, sitting there being ogled by everyone while everyone's going through. No one cares. But me, I got to be searched. And this guy goes, oh, no, go right through, sir. Go on. No, sorry, sir. I says, hey, how come your people aren't properly trained? He says, well, I says, that doesn't supersede anything. They should know that. But that was my frosted. And I went on. No one in press interviewed me. I'm really frosted. They nearly violated federal law. This guy's frosted, right? These are the people that think that we're being over-policed because this guy watches MSNBC. He watches CNN. He's one of the 3 people still watching CNN and MSNBC. The press creates a world that is less safe. The only trouble is
100% true.
They live in a bubble. When they go out to a scene, right, Paul? Who's there?
Yeah.
Who's at the scene, Paul?
That person usually, or the victim.
Well,
the police.
Who gets there before the press gets there? Who do people call first?
They call either the police or the fire department.
That's right. So they come on the scene, and there's like 100 big, strong firemen and 1 police officer taking the report or something. Perfectly safe for them.
Mm-hmm.
What if the police only responded to the reporters? Well, are you on the scene now? Okay, we'll come out then. Prove you're on the scene. I'm not going out there. You guys aren't here. They live in a bubble. You are nothing more than an automaton thing for their safety, that they're going to belittle and everything else. They don't make the world more safe for you. You make the world more safe for them, no matter what they do to you, because they're better than you, which they're not. They're a bunch of narcissistic, how can you be narcissistic and self-loathing at the same time? When we get back, I'm going to ask Matt over the break. All right?
Okay.
I see you back for the last quarter.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
It's what we were taught, trained, and told to do.
It could be for anything. Helping a friend move.
Listening to a fellow veteran for hours, at any hour of the day.
Or just simply making time for people. A neighbor, a loved one, or even a stranger.
We're often the first to help others. There's no question about it.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
Perhaps it's time to do for yourself what you would do for others.
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Hi there, Tammy Scully here from Talk Time with Tammy and Friends. Join me and my sidekicks, Nancy and Becky, for valuable lifestyle tips and unique views and insights on interesting topics and everyday situations, providing nonstop fun and chuckles for all. Get the scoop on consumer news, deep dive on current events, and learn about the newest economic trends, from exercise and gardening to music, travel, recipes, sports, pets, real estate, media, and everything in between. And it's all sprinkled with a healthy helping of bad dad jokes and interesting fun facts to boot. Tune in Mondays through Thursdays from 2 to 4 p.m. for a little fun, frolic, and infotainment. Join us, won't you?
Everyone needs to take care of their mental health, even running back Bijan Robinson.
When I'm on the field and feeling the pressure, I usually just take a deep breath. When I'm just breathing and seeing what's in front of me, everything just slows down. It just makes me feel great before I run the play.
Just like Bijan, we all need a strong mental game on and off the field. Make a game plan for your mental health at loveyourmindplaybook.org.
Love your mind.
Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation, the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation, and the Ad Council.
Looking to set sail on your dream vacation? Cruises International has you covered. Specializing in land and sea getaways, they're here to make your vacation unforgettable. Located at 1721 Moon Lake Boulevard in Hoffman Estates, they offer personalized service with a global network of specialists to ensure your trip is tailor-made just for you. Call today at 800-255-7447 to speak with a cruise and vacation expert. And don't miss Travel Tuesdays on WRMN AM 1410 every first Tuesday of the month from 11 to 12 p.m. on Out to Lunch. That's Cruises International. Your vacation, your way.
Get ready for Around the House every Saturday night from 5 to 7 p.m. on WRMN AM 1410. If you're a homeowner or contractor looking to tackle those projects that feel a bit too big, this is the show for you. Join Eric along with his knowledgeable guests as they dive deep into everything from DIY renovations to creating a healthy home environment. We'll provide you with the tools and tips you need to complete your projects with confidence and ease. But it's not all work and no play. We believe in having fun. Our passion for home improvement shines through as we help you save time, money, and reduce the stress of DIY. So whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, don't miss Around the House. Tune in every Saturday night and let's tackle those home projects together.
Fix Bayonets, comrades, we're back for the last quarter of the Chief Guard of the Republic Veterans Radio Shoutout Show with your co-hosts Mike Tuman and Paul Burvid. And again, one more time, tomorrow, downtown, Vietnam Veterans Memorial. All the guys will be down there. All right, it's an important day. 53 years, right, Paul?
Yep.
Oh, my God.
It's like it was yesterday. I remember that.
Yeah. And then, the Vietnam era went on until 75. So
that's
Vietnam
right.
ended in 73. Right. But they kept the National Defense Medal up until 75. So that era, so everyone before. And here's the thing. If you're a veteran out there, and this is a push, no one even asked me to do it, right? So there's honor flights, right? the honor flight. Look up honor flight Chicago, honor flight Lake County, and everything. And maybe there's an honor flight Kane County, or Lake County's got a big one. Up in Milwaukee, they got a big one. I'm doing a lot of hand gestures, realizing that it's you can't see my hand gestures on the radio, but you can see them on the YouTube channel. All right, so honor flight. They're taking guys Vietnam era. So, these aren't, all the honor flight guys aren't all in wheelchairs. They're not all really old. So up until 75, you can apply to be on honor flight. Now, it does take a while because they only have so many of these flights. And they try to fill them up, so they got to fly the veteran. And they have nurses there to keep an eye on people. They got the people in charge, like a tour, the tour guides and everything. And then they have assistants for the veterans, just an assistant, And sometimes that could be a relative, or sometimes it's a volunteer that's in D.C. Sometimes it's a volunteer coming from Chicago. They go out there to Chicago. They leave real early in the morning. They go out to D.C. and they see, they go to the mall, right, where you can see the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, the Korean War Memorial. See old Lincoln standing up there and everything. The World War II Memorial, which is being repaired and everything. They see that. And they go to the Marine Memorial, right? And then they end up at the warehouse for the Smithsonian with all the aircraft and everything. That is really cool, all right? I didn't realize that B-29 was that small. When you look at it, it's really like, you think it's giant, but you get up there on it, and it's really pretty not that big compared to what you would think it would be. All right. So if you're a Vietnam era veteran, just a Vietnam era veteran, you don't have to be a combat veteran. You don't have to be a full active duty veteran. You could have been in the reserve or National Guard. Just being a veteran entitles you to apply for the honor flight. So I would suggest you look into it and apply, because it takes about 2 years to work through the system. Not that I'm an expert. Double check with Honor Flight Chicago. Google it. Come right up. Boom. There you go. I think there's a link on our webpage, post104.org. Post104.org. That's the American Legion that I belong to. That's their webpage. All right, so Paul.
If somebody wants to do something with like an estate or something like that, they can also give money to honor flights so that they can continue the program on for later veterans.
Yeah, they'll be. And
that's a good. You bring that up. One of the coolest things I've ever done is about 53 4 years ago, maybe longer. About 50, 47 years ago, maybe. I don't know. I went to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and I got to stand in the wheel well of a B-50. You know what a B-50 is?
It's right between a B-49 and B-51.
It's a B-29 with jet engines on it.
All right. So you had the Stratofortress, the B-47, right?
They wanted to improve the performance after World War II, so they added jet engines to the B-29 before the B-52 came out and the B-47. And so and they adopted it in 1950. And you'd be, the nose is a little bit different. And I'm actually standing in the wheel well. And then I got to see Fifi one time at Midway Airport. She came in. She was part of what was called the Confederate Air Force. Then they changed it to Commemorative Air Force. And I got to stand on a ladder and look inside and see the Norden bomb site in it. When it was at Midway Airport, it was kind of cool. So you'd be surprised, like when you stand, you take up a large part of the wheel well of the front of the plane. I mean, it's kind of amazing.
Yeah. So over the break, I've decided, Matt kind of concurred. He shook his head and was like, yeah, it sounds good. That it's not totally counterintuitive a self-loathing narcissist. All right? So you think you're a narcissist, you think everything's good, that you're the best of everything. But you have to be really ultra narcissistic, right? But self-loathing part comes in to think that you're just absolutely best. The self-loathing part comes in is like, if I'm a real pretty boy, right? I'm pretty. I'm like, oh, I'm the best. Look how good. I'm a model. I'm like real good. People should love me because I look good, right? And someone disrespects me, all I could do is smile and say I still look good, because I'm not going to get in a fight with them, because then I won't be pretty anymore. Or there's a chance I won't be pretty anymore, right? So I keep that up. But now I'm ashamed of myself because I won't stand up for myself.
Or you'll be too pretty in jail.
Yeah. Yeah. If you win. Yeah. But all right, so you have people there that think they're smarter, better, and everything else, but they won't do what you're going to do as a police officer. They won't go into the burning building and pull someone out of it without fire equipment, a hose on them, and everything else. Right? They won't pull over a car with 4 or 5 people that they don't know. They don't know what's in that car. They won't pull it over because it matches the description of a car that was put out in a
broadcast.
In the broadcast, or what was the when the kids get
Bolo?
When they get to take the kids. I'm trying to think
Amber Alert.
Amber Alert, right? The Amber Alert. It pull out an Amber Alert. The car matches some description. Maybe it's not the same plate, but right. But it's the same type of car. How hard is it to switch a plate? You know, so they won't do that. They might call it into someone who is going to do it, right, Paul?
Right.
But if they're smarter and better at this than me, then they should pull over with their civilian car, right? And say, hey, sir, do you have a kidnapped child in there that might be at risk? Because his mother said that you were a pedophile? Well, sir, why don't we discuss this? You know, you're going in a bad direction with your life. Let's get you out of the car. I'll bring you home and we'll talk about it. No, not going to happen, right? Who do they expect to do the dangerous work? To go up on this guy, maybe he's got a 45 sitting in his lap.
The popo.
Yeah, they won't do it. But tell you what, they're jealous of the fact that you will do it, that you're willing to do it, that you're empowered to do it, right? Well, you want to do that? You want to show me how it's done, Mr. Reporter, Mr. Talking Head on the 6 o'clock news? Don't just do a ride-along. Apply to be a Chicago police officer. Hey, people that don't like how these guys are running in Iran, and I guarantee you they're going to cry about something some GI does over there. Hey, they're taking them to 42 now. Yeah, you look real pretty in that suit and everything. You know, you're thin, but are you in good shape? All right, drop your job, sign up for the Marines, go infantry. Go to the 82nd, go to airborne school. They won't do that. They're too pretty. They're too smart. That's what the peasants are for. That's where you get, but they are ticked. They are so ticked that you can do it. I used to say the best thing, right? You know, one of the guys I worked with, and like this is going with the feds versus the locals, right? And the guy goes, hey, you know, the feds have all the training, they have all the toys, they have all the funding. All we have is all the experience. It's like, all right. So these guys don't even, the actors, right? What is that? I used to watch Reacher, all right? The television series, right? Big actor, right? Because Reacher's supposed to be a big guy. That guy's a goof, right? If you support Trump, you're just a terrible person. How does he know how terrible I am? All right? I know people that supported Biden. And guess what? I would not call them a terrible person. That's their belief. All right? Maybe they truly believe it. Maybe they are critically thinking and they think that this is the best for the country and everything. Maybe that's critical thinking. Are they a bad person? I'm not going to call that them for the political beliefs. This guy does it, right? Okay, you're a big Jim Musclehead. What service were you in? Oh, he wasn't. Well, okay. There's some actors out there that were in the service. The guy that played Darth Vader's grandson or whatever, I forget his name. He was in the Marines. He's a funny guy, too. He's like, they don't, were they ever the police, right? How many of these guys were the police? How many of these actors were? There was some. Dennis Farina, right? He's a police officer. You think he would talk bad about his fellow police officers?
No.
Do you think he would do some movie that intentionally made the police look evil and bad?
No.
I don't think he did. He's a good guy, right? I remember my partner Gloria had said, we were all going out drinking after work. We'd all go out and get a couple drinks, and Dennis would be doing local stage plays. And who went further? Them or anyway. So they are narcissistic in that they believe, right, that they are smarter than you, they're better looking than you, they're in better health than you, they know how to eat better, they know how to do everything better.
Adam Driver was your Marine guy.
Adam Driver, that's right. Good guy.
Yeah.
Right? He's got some creds. But the rest of, people talking about the police, what they should do, how they should do it and everything and how they're so terrible. Well, you know what? Take the job. Show us how it's done. Hey, I know what? Take the job. Take the police test. The sergeant's test comes up. Take the test. See if you pass it. Then become a sergeant. Then take the lieutenant's test. Become a lieutenant. All right? Then hopefully you get exempt rank and everything and show us how it's all done. But unless you're really politically connected, you're not going to get invited to those invite-only, study groups where the politicians make sure that who's moving up. Your average guy out there working, 100% decent. 99.99% of them are completely decent people. The patrolmen on the street, absolutely completely decent. When they start moving up, that's when they start getting corrupt and messed up. More so. If they weren't already corrupt coming on, right? What do they say?
Remember, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yes. That's why you never want absolute power. You want to break those powers up. And you want to have checks and balances, which we don't. That's out the window. Gone. No more checks and balances. Everyone's just out there being rogue. So here we've been talking about and getting back to this. The politicians have made ICE and Border Patrol villains, right? Villains. The same politicians that voted for these guys, that voted to make these agencies, that voted to keep these agencies in place, that have the ability to introduce a bill to change the agency any way they want if they think they have the support of Congress to do it, or at least introduce it, right? Put your money where your mouth is. Sponsor a bill so we can see how psychotic you are, right? Sponsor that bill. Put it out there. They won't. They're cowards. The bill comes up, all right? They won't vote on it because now they know for a fact. Delta says, okay, you guys want to fly home? Stand in line with everyone else. But we got no special privileges for you anymore. Stand in line with everyone else. Okay, buy a first class ticket. But they won't, right? See, this is something coming down on them. They're afraid now that they're 20%. They got like 20% psychotic left their base. 20% of the people are like insane left, and they have told them, and they have militarized them against Customs and Border Patrol and ICE, right? They've militarized these people against them. They're psychotic. They have indoctrinated them constantly, like the Japanese indoctrinated their people. The Americans are barbarians. If you get captured, they're going to torture you and they'll kill you. So don't get captured because they're just going to do that. Same thing, you know. What happened? The total opposite, right? We treat them well. So they got this. And now, if you're in the Senate and you're on edge, you might be primaried out or something. You're on edge with this, right? Or you're looking to your next election. You don't want to put your money where your mouth is and just vote no. So you have the boogeyman of the filibuster boogeyman, filiboogie. We'll just call it the filiboogie from now on. The filiboogie, all right? The filiboogie out there that you're using to say that's why we're not going to vote on it. No, throw it up there. Make them put their name no on that. So next time, and there will be a next time, which is greatly unfortunate, there will be a next time, some innocent girl with her whole life ahead of her, obviously educated, going to a nice university, right? Next time one of those gets killed again, then the people could come back right on you and say, you voted no. You voted no. It's on you. Blood's on your hand. But now they're going to say, well, I didn't vote because it never came up for a vote. So I would have voted yes, or maybe I wouldn't have. I don't know. It didn't come. It's moot because it hasn't come up for a vote. Well, put it on record. Are you going to vote yes or no? Up. It's moot because it's not coming up for a vote, is it? So why do I have to answer that? They're smart enough to back themselves out of that one. And so as long as that exists, as long as you don't force that vote, right? Or here, let them filibuster it. Then you got a guy on record. He filibustered. And then when someone gets hurt, you go, you personally, you are the one person that prevented this, the only one and only person. You are responsible. I would save up my money and buy a Super Bowl commercial pointing right at this guy. Number one responsible for this. Cowards, because they made the monster. They're not a monster, but they made him into a monster. I hope I'm making this clear. They said that these people are monsters. The people have seen them in the airports now. Because obviously President Trump has someone that understands PSYOPs, right? And says people in the airport are going to see these people, and they're just normal people. The normal people aren't going out to the ICE facilities, aren't going out protesting. The people that are getting paid to do it are doing it. The 20% psychotic, militants are doing that. But the normal people aren't doing it. They come into the airport, and they're like, hey, they're just like you and me. They're decent people. They're doing a job. They're friendly. Perchance, when they talk to their kids that are getting paid to do that stuff, perchance they'll sit their kid down and say, hey, you've been lied to, dude. Or their parents, they'll sit their parents down and say, hey, you've been lied to. We're going to disconnect your cable. No more cable television for you. You're listening to too many lies. I think when you want to get down to the basic reason is the cowardness of them doing the opposite of what they told the country has happened, which was a lie. They know it's a lie. They don't want to get caught in the lie. The only way they're going to get caught in the lie is if the vote is forced on them, and they're going to have to vote yes because they know if they vote no, they'll go down in history with that no vote for that. They know that. So they tried to do this thing where, and we talked about this, where one side is known for rallying the troops, circling the wagons, no matter how bad that is. Rally the troops, circle the wagons. There are very few off-flyers on this, right? Senator Fetterman being one of them, right? He's like, I don't believe that lie. I don't have to follow you. Who are you? But they circle the wagons because they control the money, they control the press. right? Fetterman, they're going to try everything they can to primary him out, although it's more likely a Republican will get in. But, all right, so go that way. Force the vote. Have them put their name in writing. What was the one thing about former President Obama, former Senator Obama, former State Senator Obama? What was the key thing about his voting history?
He didn't.
He didn't. President, I'm here. I'm going to vote either way. President, I showed up. President. Yeah. Yay. Yo. So you can't think anything out. That was kind of, that's cowardly. That's weak. But it's the political smart thing to do at the time. He was running basically unopposed for Senate against Keyes, who actually moved into Calumet City, right? Right. I don't want to get into that one, but all right. So they create a monster, hoping that the monster they created creates a counter monster, which is their militant arms, right? That intimidates the other people so much that they're just going to kill this monster that they want killed off, that they call the monster that isn't a monster. But then they realized that they can't do that. They actually have to vote for it because it's a key thing for the country. And to vote no against that is just telling everyone that you want the United States destroyed. You just say, I want all criminals to go free. I want all crimes to be legal. I don't want anything being illegal anymore. Do what you feel. Do what you feel. Right? Like the purge, Paul.
Yeah, purge when you get the urge.
Yeah. Well, if they let's say they did that, right? I've got a list in my head. I have the training, the intestinal fortitude, right? They know that they can't let that happen. But they also what do you call it? For perfect understanding, they painted themselves into a corner. And they don't want to walk on the paint. And they don't want to sit there. What they're trying to do now is sit there and wait for the paint to dry. So they could walk over the paint and walk out of this. That's why they're not voting, because they're waiting for the paint to dry. Force the vote. Force them to walk on that paint. Force them to walk on that bloody red paint. And when they vote no, you can follow the trail of their red footprints right to their house and say, you killed my loved one. All right, so
have a great weekend.
Hopefully I'll make sense next week. See you next week, Paul.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.